You're listening to Faith Connections podcast, where we are dedicated to connecting you to your faith. And now your hosts, Chris and Mari Torres.
Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to Faith Connections. It is Tuesday.
Welcome back to the
Mari
podcast.
Torres.
That's right.
And we're excited. I know last week we ended, it was a little bit of a two-part series, and we're continuing that series, but we were talking about the pains of depression.
Right.
And we're continuing to have this conversation around the pains, but it's going to be going into the pains of anxiety, right? When you think about mental health, we all struggle with different types of mental, right?
That's right.
Struggles, whether it's depression, it's anxiety, PTSD, suicidal thoughts, right?
All kinds of-
Yeah. I mean, there's so many out there, but we want to create awareness. But we're excited because we have two of our special guests today. So we want to introduce them and give them a little bit of, moment to just kind of say hi, so y'all get to know them. But we have Ray and Angela Villarreal. And so Mr. Ray, he is a lieutenant for a local police department. So we're excited to have him here. And then his wife, Angela, is the kids director at Church Unlimited. So we have a good wealth of experience.
Yes.
And so we're excited to have y'all on. So thank you so much for being here.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to get double, right? Because we're going to get a man's perspective and we're going to get a woman's perspective.
Yes.
And their husband and wife. So we're going to get another marriage perspective here besides Chris and Mari. We're going to get Ray and Angela. So welcome guys. And we're excited because today is about
Anxiety.
the anxiety, but it's the pains of anxiety, as you mentioned. Many of us can attest that we all suffered at some point or another with anxiety. I, for myself, have been diagnosed with PTSD, and I have suffered from anxiety from time or two. My reasonings for suffering from anxiety was possibly due to my heavy usage of energy drinks. I was able to finally pinpoint it to energy drinks. I was drinking a lot of energy drinks, Monsters. I was heavy on that, and I felt that it would definitely add to my anxiety. So, and as soon as I cut that out and started doing a lot of different techniques and methods of relaxation, it definitely helped me out and put me in a better perspective. But the best one was Jesus Christ when I got into church. But I don't want to hold this up anymore. I know we got some questions and we're excited to see what anxiety looks like, what it feels like, and what perspectives Ray and Angela are going to share with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we've talked about this, but I kind of wanted to just reiterate it. What is anxiety? What is it, right? And so anxiety is a feeling of worry, nervousness, and uneasiness. And it's typically due to either an event, something that may trigger it, or it could be something that you're uncertain about the outcome. So you're unsure of, I don't know how this is going to go, depending on what it is. And it looks different to different people. And so we're excited to kind of get a deeper understanding of what it looks like for you guys, because you both experience anxiety in some shape or form and in a different way. So the first thing that we want to know, and whoever wants to take this, and both of you can take it, but what has led to your anxiety? What has led to your anxiety? And then after that, how do you cope with it?
Do you want to start?
Ladies first.
And I only want to say that you start first because it kind of, our battle with anxiety kind of started
with me.
with you, then it kind of led to me. And then,
Oh, wow. Okay.
True story. So
Yeah.
So my son was diagnosed with intellectual disability at a young age. And I think that during that time of him getting diagnosed and just going through all of the testing and the struggles of all of that, I started to find myself depressed, anxious. It was a lot. And then with the kids and his work and just everything, I think being a mom, being a wife, being a friend, being a daughter. But that's when my first initial where I was like, wow, I'm having anxiety. I'm having a lot of feelings, feeling just uneasy, unknown. And the first thing I wanted to do was hide it. I really just wasn't not really ashamed. I just didn't want to have
You were
it.
suppressing it.
Yeah, I didn't want to
okay.
have it. So I was like, oh, I don't want to, no, that's not me. It's never been me. It's just going to be a thing. And as it started getting worse, I didn't know who to tell. I didn't know what to do. And so I went to Ray and I said, my doctor, I had gone to the doctor and I said, the doctor says, maybe I should get on medication. I don't know what to do. And, I don't know, and this time I did know Jesus, and I did know, my Savior, but I felt uneasy. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So that was my first encounter with anxiety. Fast forward to today, I still have spouts of, just everyday, things. And, but I will proudly say that currently now, I think it was about maybe a month ago where I had a little bit of like, oh my gosh, I think I'm coming on with just like an episode of like just anxiousness. I just buried myself in the word. And that's hard to do, even though you know the truth. And it's like, okay, I know, right? I know better. But if it weren't for me knowing that, and I guess that's what not scares me, but worries me for other people, is that because I knew where to go, if I didn't know where to go, how I would feel.
Right.
Yeah.
You said two things that really stood out to me, and I can relate to one of them or both. But you said when you first started having, right,
Yeah.
and feeling that anxiety, you wanted to hide it.
Yeah.
And not like whether it was intentional, but you're like, no, I got this, or I can overcome this. I think that's, I'm a mom. We're created to be able to be, super moms and accomplish everything. Like, man, like,
Pride/norm.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it is. And I remember when I was going through depression, that's what my therapist told me. She goes, you're in denial. You try to deny, right? Like, no, I'm not going to go through this, or I don't have time for this, or
I rebuke that.
I rebuke that. Yeah, like I'm not. But then when you do that, then how do you overcome? You can't, because you're denying it. You're not facing it, right? Then how do you overcome something? How can you find ways to manage or cope with it? So that's one thing that really stood out. So man, kudos to you for facing it, for going and seeking the help. And then number two is, you said, man, I just got into the word. And you're right, it is hard to do. Why? Because life gets in the way. We have so many responsibilities, so many things, distractions. Man, the enemy wants to keep you from the word real quick, and he'll throw everything, life at you to keep you from that. But man, don't we know that when we go to God, right? And he says it, remain in me and I will remain in you. And man, he's the one that can help you through that, right? Help you overcome.
It's true. And it's what you make a priority.
Right.
Yeah.
I know it's easier said than done. It is. Right. But I'll share one thing is that I, whenever I have, something, okay, I'm going to spend time in the word. And, it's like you said, something comes up. I remember one time there was like a weather, it was like disaster storm.
Perfect storm.
Yeah. Perfect day. It was like, it was terrible. They closed the highways and I had a hair appointment. And I was like, okay. And I called the lady. I was like, are you going to be there? She's like, yeah, I'm going to be there. And I said, okay. I left my house 2 hours early so that I could be there to get my hair done. So I always remember that, how I strategically made time and made sure that I was there.
During a perfect storm.
Yes.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
close down roads. I was like, no, I'll get a boat. I don't know what I got to do. So,
All the back roads. A lot of back roads.
this was like, don't leave. It's dangerous. I'm like, I am going. So anytime, God knows, because it's an ongoing thing with him, but I'm like, oh, take a boat. Okay.
Yes.
Like, if I'm going to make all these things, risk my life
Yeah.
to go to my hair appointment. So, anyway.
Wow. That's interesting.
So I'll say this about our struggle. I think we all know that one of the enemy's most formidable weapons that he uses against us is fear, right?
Right.
Yes.
I mean, if it's not one thing, it's another. And these things, when it comes to anxiety, the enemy tries to compound multiple problems on you, not just one. And when it hits you, that's the enemy's whole job. That's the devil's job, is to kill, steal, and destroy, right?
Yes.
So when you get faced with, anxiety, as Angela I did, and I can pinpoint the point when I actually had bouts with anxiety. If you are in that dark place, you just got to turn to God. I mean, to me, it's like a breath of fresh air, right? And like I said, my bout with anxiety started in about 2014. As you know, in our job, Chris, whenever we promote, it is a higher class of
Expectations.
well, it's a promotion, but it's also you have to start all over
Okay.
in seniority wise. So where did they send me? My first job as a detective on the department was to go to dog watch, right?
Nice.
So my body was not used to nights. I had never worked nights in my whole entire career, and I remember the first couple of months was okay. I was able to get through it, and then about that third or fourth month, I remember beginning to have problems with sleeping. I did not know what the heck was going on. So I'd get to bed, I'd get out of work at around 6:30, I'd get home around 7, and my body, I'd fall asleep for about 3 or 4 hours, and I'd be awake at about 11, right? And Angela remembers this because at the same time, we're talking about Perfect Storm. We had our son, our blessing, who is our son. He was struggling with his, diagnosis. We had just had our second daughter, Olivia. So Angela was a full-time mommy duties. And here I am, not being there or available. And I'm struggling with my sleep anxiety at the time. And I remember just being drowning. I guess that's a good word for it, drowning. And I remember one time, I have always known God. I've always known that, there was always a way out for me. And I remember going to church one night. Angela was feeling sick. She had the children, so she stayed home. And I was like, you know what? I work tonight, but I'm going to go to church tonight. At that time, we had a Saturday night service. So I remember going to church. And of course, most churches start off with praise and worship. And this was around 2014. That song in 2013, Oceans, came out.
Okay.
My
Yes.
favorite song. Yes.
Well, in 2014, most praise and worship teams were already playing this song in most of their worship services. And I remember hearing this song, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Like,
It hit you.
snap me out. Like, I mean, those were the words that I needed to hear. The deliverance from fear, that the enemy is constantly putting on top of us. And to hear that message is where I kind of started. And, I'd like to say everything's perfect, right? Now, but, we are human and we are in a world where we're still going to experience pain and suffering. But I can tell you what, as Angela said earlier, just diving into the word and just looking for those, extra, scripture that just deliver us from that, that little voice telling us not to believe. When it's right there in front of us.
So two things that you shared, worship, right? That at that moment you needed to hear something. And I think many times, maybe some listeners out there can, that are going to church, we tend to overlook that, or we miss out on worship because we're busy running around or we're running late to church, right? Where it's that one weekend where you woke up late and you're running to church. So you maybe miss out worship, but you're there for the message. But man, we've talked about this many times that worship, you can receive from the worship, you can receive from the message, you can receive from just serving. So when we miss out on church, we can miss out on different little nuggets or different things that God puts in our path so we can get ahead or get out of whatever funk we're in. And worship was there a key for you that helped you break and overcome at that moment. And then the second thing that stood out, you used the word fear. And in our line of duty, we face that all the time, right? In our career fields, because it's the unknown, right? It's always the unknown. So that's fear tends to always get a hold of us. But one thing that we've learned about fear is false evidence appearing real.
Right.
Or face everything and rise.
Yeah.
And those are the choices that we have. We
Versus
can
faith.
either sink down and have a little pity party, or allow fear to really grab a hold of us, or we face everything and rise. And again, it's false evidence appearing real. So when we realize, when we get into the truth, when we get into his word, we know that God has a plan and a purpose. And another thing you just said, God always gives us a way out. It's up to us to search for that way out.
Yes, man. You talked about, of course, face everything and rise, but what fear wants us to focus on is to fear everything and run. He wants you to deny. He wants you to run away from the problem, right? And focus on that versus on focusing on God. Let me tell you, that is my favorite song, Oceans. I have a lot of favorite songs, but this one is dear to my heart. And I could see how during praise and worship, and I'm just getting goosebumps right now, okay? Because I could see how just hearing the words, and I'm not a singer, so I ain't gonna sing the song. Okay, you don't want to hear me sing. You're gonna be like, "Fuera!" right? Okay, but I just want to share the words of the song because I could see how this song just touched you in a great and mighty way.
I was
Bawling. I could see it.
And nobody's ever seen me. She's never seen me cry other than for when my daughter was born. So I was glad that I was by myself.
You weren't embarrassed. You're like, thank God she was sick. She wasn't here.
I just remember the usher bringing up Kleenexes to me. So it's what I needed.
Yes,
Right,
yes. It says this: "You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail, and there I find you in the mystery in oceans deep. My faith will stand, and I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours and you are mine." We just talked about, right? Remain in me and I will remain in you, right? We know that that's what John chapter 15, that's what Jesus is talking about, the vine. And you said something, Angela, right? You're like, man, I know Jesus. I know who my Lord and Savior is. But man, I knew who to run to. I knew who to go to. But I feel bad for the people that don't know who to run to and who to go to. The people that have not had that encounter with Christ, right? So that's something that we want to, help connect you to your faith or help connect you to, there's a resource. And we know that the number one resource, the number one therapist is Jesus. There's a lot of other resources that can help, with that. But I'm glad that you shared that. So y'all shared what led to your anxiety. So, and a little bit of how to cope with it. You talked about Jesus, but share with us, besides that, is there anything else that helps you cope with the anxiety?
So I run on coffee, and Chris touched on the energy drinks. Now, coffee does jumpstart my day, but it also jumpstarts my anxiety.
Yeah.
But I've learned to watch what I eat when it comes to putting certain things that may, bring that, excited, worrisome,
Adrenaline.
trembling, all those, I guess, signature signs of anxiety that you, coffee, energy drinks, all that.
Right.
And so my thing is, I don't drink coffee after 10 o'clock. There's no more drinking coffee. I stay away from caffeine. Energy drinks, big no.
Right.
I do like to work out. Do like to try holistic approaches. And one of the things that, and we were talking about this earlier before the podcast, just amongst ourselves, but, talking to your doctor about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There are certain things that do kind of, how would you say, set the anxiety off. And I think one of those things is not just what you put in your body, but also sleep deprivation, stress, work stress.
Yeah.
You need to know. And it was, Angela was saying it about, when she was going to make time for her appointment.
Right.
She was going to do that. Well, your body's experiencing these symptoms, these stressful symptoms. Take that proactive approach and start telling yourself, hey, you know what? I need to address these symptoms now before it gets worse.
Yes.
Right.
Whether that be reading the Word of God, paying attention to what you eat, getting that sleep that you need, maybe minimizing your everyday tasks that you're doing that it's taking most of your time.
Right.
Those are some of the things that I start paying attention to when I start developing those symptoms.
Knowing when to take a time out.
That's right. Yes.
Taking care of our bodies.
Yeah,
Right.
God put
definitely.
us on our minds.
Definitely.
Any hobbies? Maybe do hobbies?
That is, and I Angela and I, we've talked to, therapists regarding these things. And one of the things that's very good for it is journaling. Journaling, and you're bringing up hobbies. You got to take your mind off what is bothering you, right? So journaling, talking about it to somebody, going out there, developing a hobby like woodworking, whatever it is, that takes your mind away from, whatever the stresses that you're experiencing. One thing that I do not do, and this is a rule in my house, as a police officer, I do not bring work home. Once I leave work and I open that door, I do not talk about.
Right.
I disconnect from that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, And Angela's always asking me. She'll see
I
something
bring
on the
work home.
news like, "Hey,
Don't want to talk about it.
I saw you on the news today. Hey, you know, I
Yeah.
don't like talking about that stuff, but it's my coping mechanism to
right.
separate myself from work.
Yes.
Yes.
To kind of, desensitize my mind from the stresses,
Right.
and, things that I experience. So I think that helps a lot.
What about you, Angela? Besides getting your hair done?
Mine's, I know, right? It's been a while. Mine's. I think it's a little weird, but whatever I feel like I need, I try to do for someone else. So it's kind of odd, but
Actually, it's not odd. You know what it is? It's part of being a mom, and I feel like the way
Serving,
God created us to be. It's like when we're there for someone, our hearts are full.
yeah. Or like if I need to talk to someone, I will just call somebody. I don't know, like that, right? I'll be like, talk to me. But just a lot of stuff that I've known about myself is that I need to be surrounded by people. I love it, and I love to give people things and talk to people, and
Yeah.
that's just
That's-
me.
that's
Yeah,
good.
it helps you.
It helps me,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
especially if I feel like I need prayer, I'll start praying for somebody else, or I have a list on my phone of just people that I pray for, and so I'll just start praying for them and their problems, and then it just kind of like makes me feel better, and I feel like I'm so sure that God is there and He's listening, and then I already know that He knows what I need.
So yeah, you mentioned a little bit of some triggers, lack of sleep, maybe what you eat, what you put into your body in terms of anxiety. Have you identified any other triggers, like what actually triggers maybe the anxiety besides like sleeping or not eating the right foods for both of you?
I have a really big, I'm overwhelmed with so many things to do. A
Yep.
lot of things to do.
So maybe
would
creating
be
a
me.
list and tasks.
Currently, I have 2 jobs right now. I'm a registered nurse and then a kids director at church. And I have my time has just been stretched. And I laugh about it, but it's true. I remember saying, your will be done. God, just take over my life and just do what you want to do to me. And I'm just like, here I am.
Be careful what you
then-
ask for.
And all of a sudden, I'm working.
Have a full plate.
He's like, your wish is my command.
And so now I'm like, okay, God, you're just doing this because you have me for something really great.
Yes.
You're just like, those that are destroyed are just going to grow, So I just think right now I'm trying to be a good wife, be a good mom, be a good kids director, be a good everything, friend.
Balancing act.
Yes. My
Yes.
mom is sick right now with strep throat, but I'm like, Mom, okay, what do you need? I'm just trying to just take care of everyone. And I really feel like I just have a lot. I just got yesterday was my 10th day in a row where I had no day off. Either I was at the hospital or I was at the church, hospital or church. For 10 whole days, 10 straight days, I did not have a day off. And so, but again, like in the middle, there were some tears.
Yeah.
The family didn't get many cooked meals. I don't know.
It's
I
so
don't
much
think-
easier just to get takeout.
Yes, yeah. In today's
But
world.
yeah, so I think that's my
Yeah.
trigger right now, currently, and probably before too, is that I just have a lot going on.
It's interesting because women, the way we are wired, right, we can multitask. We can do many things. But here's the thing. It's like, I think sometimes we take so much on. And so some of it could be on our own doing. And some of it could be thanks to the husband's doing, the kids, right? There's our parents. And because we're so loving and we're just trying to be there for everyone. And we're trying to make sure everyone is taken care of, because we're all about taking care of everyone else.
Right.
Right. And so that in itself will absolutely create anxiety. One thing that and Chris knows this, and I've learned this, I've learned it the hard way, but I will have me a Madi day. And so when Madi has a Madi day, don't talk to me. Don't leave me alone. Even if it's for 1 hour, I'm like, I come in here and I'm like, guys, I need a Madi day. Just give me 1 hour. Don't talk to me. I need to decompress.
I want a day.
Yes.
Yeah.
So even if it's for an hour or a day, I call it, you're going to call it an Angela day. I need an Angela day. But let me tell you something. It will make a world of a difference, because if you are able to just take a step back and know when to take a time out to kind of regroup, right?
Recharge the
to
batteries.
Recharge yourself. Man, are you going to be so much more effective. You're going to be a better wife. You're going to be a better mom. You're going to be a better friend. You're going to be a better daughter. You're going to be a better sister in Christ, right? So man, great conversation.
Yes, it was good.
This is part 1 of a part 2 series. So we hope that you were encouraged with, the testimonies that were shared, the experience, some of the things that kind of help with managing anxiety. That's what it's about, right? Please comment, make sure that you share this stream. Let us know if you have any questions. But thank you so much for tuning in to Faith Connections, where we connect you to your
Faith.